Hey, I know you were wondering what happened to the Reptile information review. Actually, I'm not even going to kid myself. Nobody was wondering that. I wasn't even wondering that. So what happened? So for starters, one of the big things that happened last month was I got a copyright strike. Crazy, right? So some of the other things that happened included a little tiny video game title called Elden Ring. I'm not sure too many people have heard about this. You know, that showed up. And so people started playing this for the first time, you know, got great results on YouTube. So it prompted certain people, like let's call him a character named Quantum TV, to make a terrible review of Elden Ring.
So, 10-second super cliff notes recap of who Quantum TV is. He is a TV reviewer on YouTube who doesn't like when people criticize him and will abuse the copyright system when people do, and then make up a billion different excuses, and will either try to play the victim or will say everyone else is wrong except him.
So he makes this terrible review, says all sorts of ridiculous things. If you want to see some of this stuff, you go check out, you know, The Act Man, ReviewTechUSA, Mischief, you know, all of these YouTubers that just, I mean, kind of shredded this awful review apart, right? So that happened, and in response, Quantum TV actually filed a copyright strike against Mischief for using any part of his video. He seems to not understand how copyright works at all, and you can tell that in these videos. So, I mean, there's people out there that are going to say, well, you know, 5-dimensional chess, he's doing this on purpose to build his show. No, get out of here. This was a wildly ignorant person doing wildly ignorant things. And copyright strikes are very serious because they're technically against the law.
Today, we're going to be talking about copyright abuse and why filing false copyright takedowns is considered perjury, which is a crime under U.S. law section 512F of the DMCA.
Also, something that happened during kind of the same time was another YouTuber that was covering Elden Ring named AGT Jake went ahead and made a theory video. Now, experiencing a video game, especially something like Elden Ring, everybody takes something a little bit different away, and a lot of the time some of these things line up, right? So there's still a lot of lore out there that we don't 100% know, but we'll never know because it's a From Software title and they never say anything directly to us, right? Anyway, so AGT Jake makes a video about lore, and his video got hit with a copyright strike.
I found out that my video had been taken down due to copyright infringement, and a copyright strike had been added to my channel.
And then, of course, his video got restored. So I got hit with a copyright strike. So a copyright strike is actually kind of serious. When it hits your channel, you're technically not allowed to monetize certain things. You can't do certain streams. It reduces some of the features of YouTube. And of course, if you get 3, then your YouTube account gets canceled until you can come up with reasons why those were, you know, not legitimate copyright strikes. You do get the opportunity to, you know, file a counterclaim. Which of course is what AGT Jake did. I assume that's what Mischief did, and then of course that's what I did when I got this false copyright claim. But it is something that's technically against the law. On a funny note, you know, over in some reptile-related groups, I was actually told by somebody that because I had a problem with this person, I deserve this copyright strike. I mean, again, this is something that's technically illegal. This is abuse of the copyright system, right? So it'd be the same as smashing somebody's windows or flattening tires. So only in the reptile hobby do we have people that are going to say, oh, you deserve that. You deserve that. Yeah, it's so crazy. But hey, it's cute, it's fun, it is what it is. But let's jump over to some other copyright topics. So you've heard me talk in the past about places like Reptiles. So she literally took a Wikipedia article, summarized it, and then patch wrote it. You know, again, patch writing is if I took Mary had a little lamb and said Mary had a small lamb, and then said I'm clearly the author of that because I've just changed one word, and that's new work. It's not new work, that's plagiarism. You get kicked out of university, you get kicked out of a job, all of it for that. You can't do that. Can't do that at all. Now, Wikipedia is copylefted, right? But technically, it's also copyrighted. Like, if they go to a court of law, they could actually, you know, sue and say that's my material, and they would win. But that's not what the Wikimedia Foundation does. You know, we give them donations. If you'll see the banner from Jimmy Wales that says, you know, send money to Wikipedia, right? So the only thing that they have to say about the whole thing when people copy stuff is that they hope that you follow what you're supposed to do according to the copyleft. But if you don't, then that's just really sad. Really sad. Anyway, so Mariah copied this, patch wrote it, and this material is what they call CC by SA, right? So that's Creative Commons, by attribution, share and share alike. So that means that, you know, you can go to the Creative Commons and find out more about the copyleft on this specific piece of material. If you use that piece of material, then you have to attribute it to the source and say, this is derived from Wikipedia page on Ackie Monitors, right? And then, of course, once you've taken and published that work, then that is now share and share alike, which means that it inherits all of these things. So you can go to Reptiles right now, you can copy that page, you do whatever you want with it. There's nothing that Reptiles could actually do, because she's failed to understand that that's the way, when you copy Wikipedia, that page becomes a copyleft as well. That's not what Mariah did. Instead, she slapped copyright Reptiles right at the bottom. Of course, right? So the reptile hobby doesn't really respect copyright too much, don't really understand it. And so when I released a video that used part of a Herpetoculture magazine interview with Dr. Travis Wyman, who proceeded to talk about how the reptile hobby gets terms wrong, and then he himself got a term wrong, I just thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. I didn't think too many people were going to be fragile or upset or disturbed about it. Unfortunately, Justin Smith of Herpetoculture magazine was upset enough to file a false copyright strike. That video is now returned. I'll go ahead and put a link to it in the bottom. It used to be a YouTube short, but after the copyright strike, now it's not a short, now it's a regular video. I don't know what happened. I don't think I'm going to re-upload it. I'll probably include it here. If I had to do anything over in the past, I probably would have put a little emoji or something like that on the thumbnail, but I'm just going to leave it the way it is. That video is a commentary about an event that happened in the reptile hobby. So you had a place publishing material, Herpetoculture magazine, and that material reflected as a commentary on the reptile hobby, and then I use that material to create a commentary on the reptile hobby. This works in public domain. This is the same as when people, take clips and use them inside of a, news or something like that, if they want to report on something. Or when you see other YouTubers do things like include footages of games like Elden Ring, this is something that can be used in reviews. This is part of our, technically it's a free speech issue, which is weird that, especially in the reptile hobby, we have a lot of people that are, freedoms and protect my free speech and, all my rights and all this stuff, but they let stuff like this happen. Not only do they let it happen, but then, as I mentioned, somebody told me I deserved it, which is crazy. I deserve to be censored. Yeah, okay, crazy. For full disclosure, Travis Wyman and I don't get along. That's one thing that's true, There's been a few instances in the past across ballpythons.net. Of course, the most recent being the Morph Market community, where he proceeded to confuse treat and prevent, which is the two terms you should never, he's a doctor, he's PhD, but still, you should know the difference between treat and prevent. So confused those terms, never would acknowledge that he had confused those terms, proceeded to say that, he could create some sort of machine that would prevent transmission of diseases using only light, which I understand all the pop science and stuff around that, but that's ridiculous. You still need things like soap, which is another thing that he said, well, I shouldn't recommend soap to people. No, soap is pretty good. Soap works pretty much universally. If you ever think that you've gotten in contact with something that's bad, use soap. It's good, right? Yeah, it was just one of the most ridiculous conversations I've ever had. He's claimed UVA and UVB couldn't actually, deactivate pathogens, but wouldn't recognize things like SOTUS, which has been used for, I think that was made in like the 80s, right? Using just UVA and UVB light to disinfect drinking water. Wouldn't acknowledge that. So he just went off on his own. Of course, I got ratioed by a bunch of people that probably didn't make it through high school, and inevitably banned with like the word of, or with the meaning that said something like, I was going to split the reptile hobby in half. I am apparently much mightier than I think I am. I can just take an entire community and just cut it in half myself by posting things that are real crazy. So anyway, yeah, if you made it this far in the video, then definitely go indulge yourself with some very funny watching from the Act Man talking about, Quantum TV. ReviewTechUSA has some great videos. There's a bunch of YouTubers that have covered this and a bunch of great videos. Justin Smith should not have filed a copyright strike. Don't copy Wikipedia unless you attribute Wikipedia for the stuff that you stole. Used, right? Come on, Reptile Hobby. Come on.